Ngozi Talk Show's family is Nomsa here at Ngozi Talk Show's Find Your Own Voice, Lead from Within. With me today, I have Dr. Birgitte and Shireen. How are you ladies?
Well, really happy to be here today. And you?
Me
I'm
too,
doing
me too.
I'm doing well, thank you, Numsa.
Yeah, Dr. Birgitte, it's good to have you today. We've not had you for a long time.
Thank you.
So let's get into the topic, how to overcome rejection. Rejection is an inevitable part of life, whether it's professional setback, a personal disappointment, or romantic heartbreak. We all face rejection at some point. It can be a bitter pill to swallow, leaving us feeling defeated and demoralized. And it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to define us, but rejection, resilience, mastering the art. We're going to cover the mastering art of overcoming rejection, and we will also explore the profound impact of rejection has in our lives, how we can turn it into a powerful force of personal growth and transformation. So over to you, Dr. Birgitte or Shireen, any of you that wants to take the floor. What do you think about this topic today, rejection?
Thank you, Numsa. I'm happy to jump in. And so, with me being a grief specialist, the definitions of grief is the unsettling feelings caused by a change, any change in your life, a loss, such as a person passing, but and as well as also intangible losses and hope unmet. And hope unmet and unmet hope, if you look at it with that way, any rejection is a hope unmet. Whether you ask somebody for a date and the person says no, and you say, no, okay, well, I was hoping to be able to get out with him or her. Or it is you are hoping to be able to get into a college or a job or stay in a job or perhaps stay in a marriage, stay in a friendship. Or even in some scenario with the rejections that is less tangible is something like your family or your new workplace or your new friend not accepting you as much. And in some cases, it might even be you rejecting yourself and you saying, I am no good with this. I'm just not this, and it's not that. And I would say, so that is sometimes we think about rejections, the apparent, but sometimes it's a self-rejection, and all of those are painful. All of those can cause a lot of grief, and all of those can cause us to feel very unsettled, I would say. And I know Shireen is an expert in particularly in the self part. So would love to hear what you say, Shireen.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned unmet, the something that's unmet. And it just really started to make me think, particularly, as we said, you're a grief therapist, and really realizing that actually when we have those unmet needs or that future that we have an expectation of, now all of a sudden just gets pulled away, right? It's almost, it is a grief, right? It is a level where we feel that intense sadness, because now it's almost like, what the hell do I do, right? My future was predicted. Everything was planned. I had my dream. It was planned. It was all going to be organized. And then all of a sudden, that expectation goes, and we're left bereft, absolutely bereft. and we don't necessarily know how to cope with that. And if we have patterns, or, you know, a lot of women, unfortunately, one of their patterns is to not talk to people and tell what they really need. We might talk about things, around things, but we don't actually talk about what we need for our needs to be met. What that happens is that we are bereft, and we sit there in that space, and we just end up feeling resentful or incredibly deflated. And I think that this is something that then turns on itself, and it makes us resentful of them. And we're attached to the dream. We're attached to the outcome. And so we have to find a way where we can detach from that so that we don't have the suffering. I'm reading a book at the moment, which is In Love with the World by Rinpoche, Yugada or something, Rinpoche, I can't say his name properly. But he's really talking about, he's a Buddhist that's going on his wandering walk, and he talks a little bit about the attachment and about suffering, and about how when we experience this attachment to things, it's always going to lead to some suffering in some way. But then it's about, how do we manage that, eh? How do we manage to know that there's still going to be suffering in our life, but still be okay? How do we manage that attachment, that we can still make connections and still go into new relationships, or move forward instead of away from and withdraw? So those are the things that started to jump up for me when you started to talk about that. And it's fantastic that you're here. I'm so pleased to see you, because we haven't seen you for so long. We were starting to get it detached. We're glad that we're reconnecting and attaching. But it's lovely to see you. So it's really about that, and really about the expectations. And I love that you said that we then reject ourselves, and there's all these layers. If they've rejected me, then I can't be good enough. If they've rejected me, we kind of imploded all on ourselves. And so that kind of is something that's really important. I think you and I will probably want to address that a little bit later, particularly. So yeah, Namsa, what's your take on it?
Okay. I love it when Dr. Birgitte says rejection, sometimes we could reject ourselves by thinking that we are not enough, or these negative things that comes up with all the mixed up feelings. And also you mentioned that unmet feelings as well. And I've never used to see rejection like that, but until we started talking about, you went more about the grieving and stuff, that's when I realized actually what is grieving. Everything is grieving, because I used to think grief is just death only. But now I came to an understanding that, okay, if I'm being rejected, and that means my feelings are not met, so I grieve, or even losing a job. So, and also I love it when you, Shireen, when you mentioned that, find a way to detach yourself from expectations. Me, I have found a way actually. If I get rejected, I'm no longer worrying anymore, because I tell myself that this person that has rejected me, they're not Jesus. So I shouldn't worry about anything. I shouldn't worry about, it's the mindset that I actually told myself that if I go to, or if people reject me, it does not mean that it's a bad thing. It means what they see, what they see, they can't see something in me, that I carry the blessings that I have, so I don't have to worry about anything. But sometimes the rejection, if it's not dealt with, it can leave somebody with the mixed emotions that can cause depressions, it can cause so many things, sadness, anger, and that person can feel ashamed, because it can leave them wondering why this person have not accepted me. and why, what is wrong with me. It happens in relationship, it happens with job offers. When somebody does not offer you a job, we just get wind up. Sometimes people be like, I'm more qualified, but why this person has not given me a job? I used to see, like myself, if I go and look for a job before, when I left football, I'll prepare for interview, thinking that I'm going for interview. But when I walk into the door, the minute we start having a conversation, and that person, the conversation ends up, we talk about job, the job, what the job has to offer, but we're not really going deep with the person. They end up not going into deep conversation, like you're asking really deep questions because of the attitude sometimes that I bring. And then they're like, I like you. Like, I like, during lockdown, I was so bored. And I just went for it. I was like, let me just try this company, just go for interview, just work during lockdown. And this woman, I walk in and we're talking and she goes, when do you want to start? And I'm like, but the interview has not started. She goes, oh, it's already started. That was the interview, me talking to you. So I like you. So I was like, okay. So you realize that there are some people that have to go through questions. There are some people sometimes you don't have, and then that person, if they don't know, they would be wondering, is there anything wrong with me? Or have I done something wrong? They will have this sadness of anger, but simply they've not done anything wrong. Or sometimes in a relationship, I've seen people rejecting people, telling me that they were rejected. And even myself, I was rejected in a relationship. But at the time, because my mindset wasn't in the right place, I thought there was something wrong with me until I go into personal development. And then I started to realize actually it's the other way around. The person's life is messed up. They are not sure about what they want. So they need to figure out it's nothing to do with me. So if you don't know all about that, you dwell in that struggle with the emotions and get angry. But working with Dr. Birgit, because you used to come a lot at the talk show before you move out with your internet causing problems. So the more we talk about grief, I had to understand more what grief is about and how do you deal with it as well. So thank you for that. And thank you for being here as well. Good to have you. Shireen, she's one of the usual suspect at the moment. Over
Thank
to
you,
you.
Num.
Over to you, ladies.
Thank you, Numsa. Thank you, and it's a delight to be joining you again today. And yeah, just definitely, I love where you says that everybody's different, and it's not about you firstly, that when it is rejections from other people, and this is include rejections from family members. Sometimes you can have family member, just think about this, you have two parents, for instance, and one understand you and you feel accepted by that person, and then the other one doesn't. Well, if these are your parents, for instance, then they're your parents. You part of them exactly to each and every one of them. But if one of them not able to accept you as you are, for whatever reason that person reasoning is, then it really is not about you. And the same thing when it is about an interview, when it is about a relationship, it's usually about them. And sometimes people don't think about this a lot of time, and it is understandable. It's understandable, and it is easy to say, oh, well, this person does not accept me. That person does not like me. What's wrong with me? But you also want to turn the question around. And perhaps it is not what's wrong with you. Perhaps you're too good for them. perhaps you are too good for them. Now, not in an arrogance way necessarily, and I'm not saying that, but maybe it's your energy, your vibration is just too uplifted for them. Have you ever hear a saying that some people are so happy or so joyful that it irritates people who are not happy? So perhaps you are, it's not something wrong with you. I will not say necessarily it's something wrong with them either, but maybe you are simply your energy or your vibration or the way your beingness, maybe perhaps your ability to look at life or certain things, it irritates them. It irritates something in them that because you're too good of them. Now it's still we do want to acknowledge that we talk about how do we transform rejection into something that's beneficial for you. And the first place is to acknowledge and allow that pain, to acknowledge and allow if we were feeling rejected, whether somebody rejected us or we suddenly decide that for whatever reason we don't like something about ourselves, it's a cause of grief, and we do want to acknowledge that grief. We do want to allow it instead of resisting it or trying to hide from it. And that will be the first step. And before and then we need to take action. But I just would invite you to, if you facing rejection for any cause, to just turn it on itself and say, what if it is not me that's not good enough?
That's really an interesting way of looking at Dr. Birgitte. I like that. And it was certainly, you got surprised when you said it. So that's a lovely reframe for people to understand. And at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, what else we could, that too, I may be too good. Maybe there's some more in-depth thing that people need to understand about things as well. So I was thinking in the sense that when we go into an interview, or when we are in that situation, one of the things that may be very useful is to recognize that rejection, when we feel it like when we first came into the world, right? When we separate our first breath outside of a lovely warm room, immediately sets us up to seek attach, right? Because that's about safety and survival. And so we as humans will naturally always think about that. And we will get anxious, worried if we are not attached. So when we feel rejection, it's actually really going to a very deep part of us. And one of the things when we're little is for our caretakers or anybody else, when we feel the idea of rejection, we can't make them wrong. So we learn to make ourselves wrong. And so we learn this pattern. And later on, when things go wrong, we might look at ourselves and see ourselves as wrong and as lacking, or as the reason that someone doesn't want us, or, we didn't get that job because we weren't good enough. So it really is going to require that real acknowledgement that something's happening. There's a feeling. I'm feeling awful, right? And to begin a process of just looking at this. I love the idea of hope unmet. I love that. I think it's just something I'm going to keep in my head all the time, this hope unmet, because it is this grief that we feel because of that hope unmet. And when we have that and we feel rejected, it's so empowering to actually go, well, you know what, this is what it is. This is a primitive response. So of course I'm going to have it, right? I can't not have this feeling, no matter what, because it happened a long time ago. But what I can do now is know that it's not true. maybe I can look and see what is really going on here. So maybe I wasn't the right person for that job, but maybe I'm better for someone else's job, right? Maybe I'm too qualified for this job. Maybe there's other things that are going on that's causing the rejection to be high. So maybe you've had quite a few jobs that you've been rejected from. Then really go and pay attention to, okay, let's look, this is a good thing. This is a good thing, not a bad thing. Let's have a look and see what it is that's going on and where I can do something else that might shift the paradigm. And I think that that's something that's really important. So yeah, you are good enough. You're good enough. So therefore, you might be too good for the job, right? You may just not be the right person for that job because there's something better. There's something better. And somehow, on whatever level, and I think what you said something there, which was really important, other people that are interviewing, other people in work, other people in things, they've got their own shit that they're running, right? They've got their own stuff. And it may have absolutely nothing to do with you. Absolutely nothing. If a mother is unable to attach to a child or is unable to attach, then it's often something to do with their past that is affecting you. And they've rejected you because of a trigger that's happening for them. So it's not about you. So maybe it's really to get really clear what's mine and what's not mine. Right? And then sit with that for a little while, and then sit with the idea of the unmet needs. What's the dream that I was dreaming? Can I change that dream a little bit more to be more realistic of where I'm going? What might I need to do? So, because that's the one thing we're going to have to do is change the dream. We're in it, it's changed, but can we change that dream to something that's going to be more powerful for us, even in these moments of grief? Even with these moments of rejection. Yeah. So yes, that's, thank you, Birgitte. It's really lovely to just kind of think about it in that term. And I hadn't even thought about it as a grief, but except that I know that the pain is there. So we realize that everything is coming down to any pain, any separation is going to give us grief. It's going to give us that experience of it, and just to honor that and to name it. To name it makes it a lot easier. Yeah. So nonsense.
Yeah, it's very important. I agree with you, Shireen, when you talk about get clear what's mine and what's not mine. I think this is a powerful statement because sometimes there's some things that we believe that they are ours. There are some things that they're not ours. I've seen it with people, like sometimes with dating, there are some people that come into our lives to help us with something. But because that person is too nice, they become too nice, and we've never experienced that experience. We end up dating them, but they're not really there to date us. They're there to help us. So that the statement of what's mine and what's not mine, and God works in that way as well. He works with the blessings that are yours, and He knows that sometimes there are blessings that are gonna cause delay or just wasting time, or maybe there's a job that will be wasting your time. So that job, God may make sure that you don't get that job, you get a better one. But because we don't see, there are some invisible things that we don't see. We don't see what happens in the spiritual world. We only see things that we see that are visible in the physical. So we just believe that we have control of everything. We should have control of everything in life, but we don't. Even Dr. Birgitte, you said, what if it's not me that is not good enough? And that is another statement as well. When you ask yourself, when you're being rejected by people, I have gone to places where people, even family members, sometimes people just turn just like that. But what I've realized is people never get time to get to know you, or they never really get time to deal with their own issues. But if you don't understand the power of God or the power of the universe, how it works, you'll find yourself caught up in that environment of rejection and thinking that, wow, I'm being rejected, or having fear. Am I good enough? Am I not good enough? But sometimes it's very, very important to actually understand that in order for us to pursue our goals, there's going to be things that are not going to go our way. It does not mean that it's a rejection or looking for a job. Like what I mentioned before, there were times where sometimes I look for a job and people don't take me because, not because, or sometimes they just tell me, no, sir, you're overqualified. I don't think you're really gonna stay on this job. So sometimes you don't. Things go like that. Or sometimes you go enter a relationship, people reject you. And it does not mean, what we need to understand it is these people, there's a power out there, there's a universe, there is God. God himself was rejected. So who are we to say we should control everything? We shouldn't get rejected. People will reject us. But that's okay. When you are being rejected, I think it's time where you need to rejoice. It's time where you need to praise. It's time where you need to see a bigger picture about life. That, wow, I'm being rejected. That's fine. When my daughter performed once, the guy from Doctor Who, we left the music, forgot the music. He called her backstage and said, "You're gonna go far in life." And also, there's a slogan that I always tell my children, that when you are being rejected by people, it doesn't mean, or if you enter competition, whatever you do, if you don't win that day, it does not mean that you're not good enough. It means that person did not see the real you. Let them see the only person that sees and knows the real you is you. So I always explain that when we go to competition, when we sing because we love it. You feel the emotions. You have to put everything, what you are feeling inside that music or inside that dance. And which is what I do with my business. I put that every emotion in my business. But if somebody tells me that my business is not good enough, their words cannot affirm my glory, my destiny. But then you have people that will criticize, they will reject you. But when they reject you, they will sit down with you and they will explain why they have rejected you. Or simply, they are not looking for somebody just like you. Mostly in relationship is people, they reject each other because they have not dealt with childhood attachment. Like Dr. Biggett, you mentioned before about sometimes we get rejected by parents. Sometimes you have these parents that you have 3 kids, but they have their favorite. I have 2 children. My children, they always come and find out who is the favorite. I'm like, nobody. And the hope goes, I am the firstborn. I was born first. I spent time with my mom first. So that means I'm the favorite. So you leave them argue, but I've made a choice that I don't have a favorite with my children. If somebody comes and they want me to buy something, I'm not gonna buy it if I don't have money to buy the other one. So, or if I don't have money to please both of them, I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. So that they don't feel when they're older, they don't feel that the other person was more loved, they were not more loved. But there are some people who go through that, and then through relationship as well, they will reject others because, like Dr. Biggett and Shirini, you guys said, their childhood were not met. The love that they needed from the parents wasn't met. For me, it's like my siblings, they always think that I was a favorite child. I tell them not, I wasn't. It's because I like asking questions. And I think Sharina, like our older generation in Africa, they like to talk. Even here in the UK, if you meet like an older person, if you like ask them questions, They actually sit down, they like to talk, they like to explain. So I was that child that ask questions. So I would sit down with my dad because he knows that I like to talk, I like to ask questions. He'll be telling me about history. My grandmother, I just sit there. And then when my siblings now, my grandmother gone, and they're like, you were the favorite. I was like, no, I wasn't. My dad made sure that he never had any favorite child. He would speak to me that I love my children with all my heart. But it's because I was that child that liked questions. But so that's how life is. I don't know about you, Dr. Birgitte. What advice as a grief coach or Shireen as well, you can answer this question. If somebody has these feelings from their childhood that have not been met and is affecting their current relationship. So what advice can you give that person?
Yeah, it's a really great question, Numsa, and I do want to put to say the same thing in a different way in case some people need to hear it differently. I love when Shireen said, that when somebody is not accepting you, and if you don't have the relationship you want, it's typically because of someone. It might be something that happened in their past, and then you, Numsa, say something similar, and it is the Grief Recovery Institute, which is an evidence, really the only evidence-based institutions and method, evidence-based, so we have this studied in universities and different settings, shows that when there is a problem in a current relationship, it is always from an unhealed past. So if you are now, if it is a parents, well, the past would be their past. Think about this. I mean, you're born into this world, and so it's not necessarily. And some people say it, but it could be a past life or something. It's possible. But in terms of this life, it's an unhealed past. It's their past that's affecting you. And then the other part is if it's your current relationship, so let's say you feel one way or the other, it's very possible it's the person past, very well-known persons, and he said it on stage in a group of 1,000 people. So I think he stated this in many other venues as well. And so I would say his name, Vishen Lakiani. He is a very well-known personal development teacher. Shared at some point in his group that he had an experience when he was in college or something where he was rejected by a girl, and it hurt him deeply, and it caused him a deep grief. But like all good young gentlemen, he says, he puts it away and say, all right, who could have you rejecting me? I am good. I'm going to find the next girl. I'm going to go party. I'm going on and busy with study and all and so he did not heal that pain and grief. And then later on, he met somebody else wonderful, and they got married. And in his word, his marriage did not work because he never healed that first grief until he has being a leader that he has an awakening, and then that's when he come into a realizations. So even if it is the person who you met, it seems to be like he's a guru. So for many people, Vishen is a guru, and nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. He says this to us only 2 years ago. He's way in his 40s. So imagine that. I mean, if you had met him or somebody else that age, and the person is a guru, and then sometimes it's because of that, and the other times, like Numsa says, you very true. Then you might not. It might be because they didn't know you. In my early age, in my college, when I was in my early part of my medical training, one of my instructor, actually a few of my instructors, but in particular, one of my advisor told me that I was too stupid to become a doctor. And then not only that, the gentleman, the boyfriend that I was with at the time, the same thing. He says, oh, you just no good. And who do you think you are? You just this little arrogant, little princessy attitude that thinks you're so good. You're not going to become a doctor. Look at you, you little stupid thing and all this thing. So they both rejected me. Now, did it hurt? Of course it did. Particularly when it's your advisor and then your boyfriend, and then he decided to when I told him about the teacher, that's what happened, and then he decided to dump me because I was too stupid apparently, and all this thing, and Loops is laughing, and did it hurt? Yes, it did, and you want to acknowledge the pain. And you want to allow the pain, and you want to allow yourself to cry, and you want to do what you're able to heal from that. And then you do want to take actions. You do want to allow support. And as you can even just hear from Humsa or Sima from there, the tag there, I do become a doctor. Now, this is the good part. This is the good part. So when I look back, the person who told me I was too stupid to become a doctor, that advisor, she herself, she does have a doctorate degree in a different field, but she does not have a doctorate degree in a medical field. Now, it doesn't mean that she's too stupid, but later on, I came around and said, how come you love this so much, but how come you not, do have a doctorate degree in the field? And the answer is, I could never do that because A, B, C, D. Guess who was not good enough? Maybe you're just too good for them. And the same thing with the boyfriend. He's continued to try to discover his life even at this age of him. And actually turn around from there. When I allow support to heal from that pain, to move forward, I actually met somebody else who says, those people don't know what the heck they're talking about. Just take the next step, and the next step, and the next step. And the person value me and cherish me. We still have a good relationship and appreciate me and honor me the way he is able to value and honor himself. And this person is actually, even back then, he himself was a doctorate student in a different field. Now, this is not an endorsement for everybody to become a doctor or have a doctorate degree, or that you need to have a doctorate degree. Not at all. We are all just awesome, even without a million degree behind us. But I'm giving you an example that when I say maybe you're just too good, maybe it's not you that's not good enough. This is just a real life example. The person who was in the doctorate degree, the young gentleman, they were about the same age, really. He was able to see in me, like Numsa said, they are able to see your truth. He was able to see my truth, and he said, no, you are this. Sure enough, he was correct. That's because he knows how to value himself. And the same thing with the other, I have multiple advisors and the dean of the college who jump around furiously when she hear about this. They're able to see the truth of me. So what is the truth of you? What is the truth of you? Just allow that. The truth of you is a lot of time is better than those who's not able to value you.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And I wrote something down earlier on, way down, mirror reflection. And you're just really talking a little bit about that mirror reflection. What happens when we show ourselves fully, which Nomsa, I think what you sort of said is when you show yourself fully, if people see you when showing yourself fully, then they can't but not see your light, right? The problem is if they're seeing your light and they can't cope with your light, then there's a problem. The problem is they are seeing themselves in lack. And so part of that is they will fight back. They will want to diminish your light in order for them to shine in their own way, whatever that is. So I loved, Nomsa, when you said, I was that child that went to go and talk, right? I went to speak to my father, and I developed that relationship because, yes, I was that person that asked questions. No, you were absolutely showing yourself fully. You were in that relationship with your dad, and you just were who you truly were. And I think that is such a powerful statement you said. And I'm really thinking about that as a thing of, wow, what did I not do when in this relationship that I'm not showing myself fully? So if anyone's feeling rejection, is how am I not showing myself fully in this relationship that this person can't see my light, right? And maybe there's something else going on that I'm reflecting in them that may not be, may mean that there's something that I'm not doing. Maybe I'm not shining enough. Maybe I'm not doing what I really need to do so they can get to know me, right? To really see me. Because in lots of relationships, as I said, we don't always, a lot of men don't talk about their feelings, right? So we don't get to see them. A lot of women take on all their troubles of their family. They're so busy, we can't get close to them because they're like the lone soldiers. That's not good either because we don't get to see them. And it was really interesting. Recently, I was talking to my friend just to Australia, and she's a grandmum, but living with the grandsons and a family over there. And the grandsons are coming in and they say, "Okay, you better come and get your supper before I eat your meal." And I just thought, isn't that lovely that grandchildren are coming in and wanting to make sure that their granny's all right? And my partner's two nephews, they're 32, 33. They make an effort to come and see their grandmother. I mean, they had a Christmas where just the grandmother and them two were there, and they were having a good old time. Lots of dead soldiers, lots of dead bottles of wine. But what was really useful is really she shows her colors. She shows who she is. And these grandchildren actually just are delighted by her. So I think this is really something that's so important, is checking out, where have I not shone my light? Have I given fully? So that in this relationship, have I given fully? If I haven't, then this is not about rejection. It's just a reflection that I haven't done more that I could have done, which is my truth. As you were talking, Birgitte, who are you? Who's your truth? I think that's a really clear thing. And maybe that's something we should do even in our normal time. Spend time just to say, how am I going to shine today? When I'm in a conversation, how do I shine in that conversation? That I'm not coming from a place of lack, but I'm coming from a place of fullness. And I think that then any rejection would automatically not even be perceived as rejection, because you're giving in a different way and you're shining in a different way. So yeah, I think that there's something really, really powerful in some of the things that we've said about the unmet need, the unmet hope, the hope unmet. So powerful in recognizing, hey, this is just an expectation. It's like a balloon that just got popped. Yes, it's painful. Yes, it's sore. Yes, that dream has collapsed. But there are other dreams. That's just one part of your dream. It's not the whole dream. It's not the whole of you. It's just one bit. So how can I shine light into that? How can I be fully myself? If I have to cry, let me cry. How can I, can I say thank you for the gift, right? So yeah, these are the things that I'm getting from here. And it's yeah, I'm so grateful I was here today because I'm getting more insights in a whole new way of looking at things. Namsa, I don't want to take up too much time.
That, Shireen, who are you? Who is your truth? It's like it's my favorite slogan. When sometimes when somebody is funny or people behave really funny, like, I've listened to this pastor, I think that was 2009. He was preaching, or 2010, he was saying people are crazy. No one gets along with anybody. He was saying no one agrees with anybody when it comes to reality. But what you can do is you have to get along with yourself. Because if you don't get along with yourself, no one will get along with you. And I took that preaching when he was preaching. Every time now I started observing people's behavior, not coming in a judgmental way. And now when somebody comes in, or if the people reject me or they say this, I just look at them and I'm like, you know what? I've never seen life the way I see now. But if I didn't know that this is how, even myself, I'm sure there are times where I behave like that as well. So I'm like, imagine if you depend on a human being to fulfill your destiny. You will never fulfill your destiny because people will reject you and people will tell you all these things, but everything comes down to what Shireen has just said. What's your truth? Who are you? And I always say every time I go through something or somebody says something that I don't like, I always say, God, you can testify the real behavior of that person, what they were meant to say to me. You can testify whatever the energy that is coming and wanting me to feel unworthy, feel that that person is hurting me. Testify. I've done that with my daughter when in September when she was moving school. The head teacher could not listen to me, and I was like, the report that you put here, my daughter, it's not really my daughter, because I've worked with my daughter for a very long time, working along with her teacher. She has improved. She has got confidence. And the head teacher just dismissed me and rejected my thing. But I just went home. I kept testifying. I said, God, I am testifying that the teacher helped my daughter. My daughter would not be where she is today. But then I decided to move school. The moment I moved to my daughter's school, my testimony, what I kept saying it on air, and the teachers come and tell me, your daughter, she's amazing. She's very smart. I'm like, hallelujah. You see, that they rejected me. But if I was somebody that likes to talk or somebody that likes to fight, I would have fought them. I would have done all sorts, but me, I don't do the talking. Since I've listened to that pastor, I don't do the talking. I do what's right. I just pray about it. I sleep on it, and I just carry on and just try to do the right thing. I never stop, or I just pray for my children. And I was like, this is not if it's somebody, they'll feel like their child is being rejected or is being treated really bad. But Sharina, you mentioned the paradigm. In the realm of the spirit, like before God blesses you, you got to go through trials and tribulations. And when you go through trials and tribulations, the rejection is part of it. And if you don't know, when you meet people, somebody might just give you some attitude. But if you're somebody who focus on the negativity, you will miss out the blessings in front of you. So all you have to do is like what Dr. Bigot said, you need to work on your healing. Healing is the most important thing, and self-acceptance. And what Sharina said, who are you as a person? What's unique about you? If you sit down and get to know yourself, get to know the things that makes you happy, so that when somebody comes in and tell you otherwise, you can testify back and say, no, that's not me. the Nomsa that I know is Nomsa that is kind, Nomsa that is passion, Nomsa that loves people, and Nomsa that does not care about rejection. And also ask this person in your heart, who are you rejecting me? You're not a God. So I'm just gonna continue receiving my blessings the way God has put my blessings to become. If it's a relationship, I know some people, they actually give up dating because of rejection. Some people, they give up in helping people like family members. They're like, what is the point? Me, I just look at people and I just say to myself, this one is one of the crazy one. And I just pray to God for God to touch their heart, because I know that when somebody has that negative energy in them, it means they have battles that they have to face. And the fact that they are trying to transfer those battles to me, for me, I'm like, no, don't accept rejection. And also, like Dr. Biggett, you mentioned the guy that was rejected and he affected his marriage. If you accept the rejection, it affects you. But if you don't, it's like the sickness. If you go to the doctors, I went to a point, I've mentioned the time when I had encounter with Lucifer. Before I had encounter with him, he was already there, but I didn't know he was already there. So I went to a point where I'll go to the doctors. I was spending my time at the doctors, and the doctors will tell me, if I describe my symptoms, they'll tell me, is this? And I'll be like, doctor, I'll come back next week. We can do more tests. I don't have that sickness in my family. I don't have that. I don't have that. Honestly, I'll be arguing with the doctors. I'm like, you can't tell me that I have this sickness, because in my family it does not exist. Until he showed up, until Lucifer showed up to show me, actually, he's the one that has been doing this. And then we had a showdown. So in that moment, when we had a showdown, I realized that there is no such thing as a rejection. If I don't accept it myself, it will never affect me. There is no such thing as a sickness, unless if I don't accept it and look forward for the healing, for God to touch me and heal me. There is no such thing as I'm dumb or I can't do this. I just have to try. And if I'm willing to learn, if I'm willing to accept the love that God has given me, and that love, give it to myself, no one else can tell me that I'm not good enough, unless if I tell myself that I am not good enough. And then receive it myself, but I can reject it completely and say that is not my story. My family call me crazy. Some friends call me crazy. Hope is dead. He used to call me a dreamer, but now when I speak, he listens. If I go to him and say, I'm gonna do this, he listens. He says, Nomsa, I started listening to you because you're bonkers. You don't give up on things, regardless of whatever happens. You have this attitude of bonkers. You just go for whatever. You get rejected, you keep going until you get there. So now when you tell me something, I just listen. And that's how, and that destroyed our relationship, because when you go to somebody, you're like, let's do this. And it's like, you're dreaming. I'm not doing it. And I was like, okay, then I'm going to do it. And that's the rejection part, that you don't have to accept it. If I come to you, Shireen, and say, Shireen, you're not good enough, you don't have to accept my words. You can say, I rebuke Nomsa's words, Nomsa's tongue. Tongues, words of rejection can put somebody in stagnation. It can chain a destiny, those who don't know. It can destroy somebody. So when somebody rejects you, you just have to wipe it away. I wipe it off by the blood of Jesus. You just have to, don't receive it. Over to you, ladies.
Well, I love what Shireen says earlier. What about if you thank the person because who rejected you? If you want to turn it on its head and see it the other way around, what if you thank the person and and who rejected you. And it's a very good thing. And sometimes for us, we can say, oh, but they didn't accept me. I changed my background here. As you can see, it's a large diamond.
Mm.
Thomas Carlyle, which I believe is a British poet, says that no pressure, no diamond. No pressure, no diamond. Now, what many people forget that even after all the pressure and all the heat that it's required to form a diamond into a diamond, for it to be able to shine, still has to be displaced, to be pushed away from where it was in the center of earth, to be displaced, to be pushed away, and then a diamond has to go through many cutting. And the one that shine the most, for a diamond to shine the most, this very high value precious diamond, those goes through additional cutting. Those rare cut diamonds that everybody is inspired by, those goes through additional cutting. And so the truth of us, the truth of you, is you are a diamond. Each and every one of us is a diamond and has the potential to shine. And those who cut you, who reject you, who hurt you, are doing that so that you can shine even brighter. And sometimes you shine and you might have this experience. You're doing well and then at some point things seems to happen again. And that's because life, there is a part of us that's eternally, if you look at nature, it's a continue to grow. There's a part of us that asks us to continue to grow. And perhaps because life now, okay, you have served here and you shine well, it's time to shine even brighter now and then life bring it up to you. And so, and of course there is the part of it that hurt. It's hurt when you're being cut, and hurt when you're being rubbed, and hurt when you're being shaped. And that's when you want to allow yourself the support to heal, because when if you're not able to heal it promptly on your own, then you want to allow the support to heal so you can move forward. Not so you can get over it, but you can move through it and move forward and then shine even brighter the way that you would love to be. And keeping in mind that some people are just misery loves companies. That's why they want to make you miserable. And some people are here because they're here to help you shine even brighter.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful metaphor that you brought up there. Yeah, you needed the pressure, you needed all of those things to be in perfect way in order to form the diamond, and you're still untapped. You're still just a diamond in evolution. And then all of a sudden you get born or whatever, let's put it as a birth. And the first severing is the first cut, right? Maybe the first most painful cut that we really will ever really have, because that's when we feel something that is so different from anything else. And we don't know what to do with it. We can only respond body-wise. But I think what I really started to think about while you were saying that was all these experiences that people may have been doing the cutting with. I would suggest this is you having been sculpting you. So every little cut that you then felt that pain, when you really acknowledged the pain, it meant that the cut was now clean. And now there was a new, you would probably have turned around to look for a new way to sculpt, to re-sculpt you. And so I was kind of thinking, it's not as an external sculptor, but an internal sculptor that is cutting away so that you can let your light shine and radiate in a particular way. So maybe think about, okay, this is sad, this has happened, this is my hope unmet. okay, how is this resculpting me? How can I use this to shine, add more facet to my light so that I sparkle more brightly? And recognize that if that's the case, then you can't feel rejected because you are already that light source. The only rejection is when you actually keep the light source dimmed. So when you don't use it to make that facet, right? So I think that that's the key. Are you willing to shine brilliantly, and are you willing to cut away what's there? So we've had a resentment. Well, okay, let's cut away that bit of us, that part of us that is doing this bit. So we want to shine brighter. So yeah, I think that was that's such a lovely metaphor, Birgit. Thank you for bringing it. And yeah, it's such a nice way to think about it. If you think about yourself as that diamond in evolution, and you know, I wonder how many. So those that had cuts right at the very beginning, as you say, heal. When we've got to heal, what do we do when we heal? When we heal, we kind of realize that whatever happened was really part of our growth. When we start to, when we heal, we always will feel gratitude once we've healed, because we see our life has become so much better in a different way. Maybe we're stronger, more resilient, because healing gives us the resilience that we need to handle anything that happens.
I am a diamond. So
Exactly.
I'm gonna every time somebody comes in and reject me, I'll be like, wow, I'm a diamond, and Dr. Birgit and Shirine have confirmed that. So I'm accepting the diamond. So I think that would be my words of encouragement, guys, that I just like take Dr. Birgit's advice and just tell yourself you're a diamond, and also shift perspective of life, and also just the growth mindset is very, very important. When you go through these kind of things, you have to think about, am I growing with these things? People rejecting me, what does it mean? Once you have the meaning, you give it a meaning, and then like you think of yourself as a diamond, because there are sometimes I always say to people, there's some battles that are mine, there are some battles that are not mine. And part of rejection is not part of my battles. If somebody rejects me, I don't have to follow that story. I can write my own story how I want it to write with God. And God can help me to actually write that story. And life is amazing. Once you understand the power of how God works, how the universe works, you'll be able to not worry about all these rejections, or worry about people who are not ready for relationships, or worry about people who just enter your life and just reject you. Because at the moment, we all have an assignment, and we all have a journey that we have to take, and don't let somebody stop you going through that journey of finding the special one, or simply relationship with family. There are some family members that are not nice, so you don't have to be in that website, or parents simply we can't change our parents, but what we can do is we can rewrite our story, because that parent themselves, they might have had challenges that they were facing with their own parents, their needs not met. So what you need to do is rewrite your own story. Amanda, I think she said she said last that you can rewrite your past, how you want your present to look like. So we can do that. We have a choice. But if rejection comes our way, we have a choice to say, God, this is not my story. And guys, I'm telling you this because it works. For me, when I actually do things and start testifying things, the positive things comes along. When you refuse the negative, and it's just understanding how paradigm works. Over to you, ladies. For me, I'm just gonna say, if you guys want to sign up and want to know more about Ngozi Talk Show's coaching, or you're looking for love, please go to Hope Spring Eternal Introduction Agency website. You can go to the pages, the website, and email addresses. The phone numbers is there. If you want to get in touch with our coaches, please do. And God bless everyone. Over to you, ladies.
Thank you, Numsa. And yes, my final message would be to remember that no pressure is no diamond. And it is your choice. At the time when you are being cut and it hurts so much, we all have a choice. It is your choice, nobody else. Not the person cutting you, not the circumstance, not the natural disaster, not your parents. That it is your choice. If it hurts so much and the wound is bleeding, it's your choice to let it keep on bleeding and make you stuck, make you scarred, make you impaired, or to allow support such that you heal beautifully the way you would love to heal and be able to move forward and shine the way you are meant to shine.
Yeah. I second that. I second that. I think, as you said, the diamond and the pressure. We can't have a diamond without pressure, and we can't have a shining diamond without the cuts. So really recognize that life is all about change. It's all about impermanence on some level, and we got to get comfortable with impermanence. We got to get comfortable with things changing, because we need those cuts to shine. And maybe this is really about recognizing that they are necessary. And if they're necessary, to look and go, what am I learning here? What do I need here? One of the things could be, what happened? Was I fully shining? Was I fully showing myself? Okay, maybe I wasn't. So how can I show myself differently that this will attract that? Maybe something that could be, well, actually, maybe this is a mirror reflection for that person. And maybe not everybody is where I am right now, right? So I'm good enough. They may not be. Your partners, Birgitte, were definitely near good enough, right? You were shining, and that they saw their lack, right? That's all they could see. And so they needed to make sure that you weren't better than them. So they wanted to keep you small, right? That was the problem, not that you were a problem. And so you could have gone and said, no, I believe you, but you didn't. You felt the pain, you felt the loss, you felt the hope of all of those dreams get unmet. And you were brave enough and courageous enough to do that. And it takes courage. It takes courage to go and look and to self-reflect and take some accountability. I think that's really hard for anyone to do, because nobody likes to look on themselves and go, oh, right? But if we truly take accountability and not blame, accountability is not about blame. Accountability is where I cut deliberately so that I shine better. I might even polish it. So make it, a bit of polish might mean I've got to do a few things, but these are the things that are really, really important. What was running for me is, when we have elegance and grace, it is always excellence in action. It's the act of doing excellence excellently that we then get a life of grace and elegance. Let's go for it. Let's shine and be elegantly in grace. And happy Christmas, everyone, because I probably won't be here on the Monday. So I want to say happy Christmas.
Bye, everyone. I shall see you on Christmas Day. I will pop in on Christmas Day and keep you guys busy for 10 minutes, and then I'll be out. Everyone else, have a good one. Thank you so much, guys.
Bye-bye.